Okay, in case you weren't counting, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hello everyone, I am so excited to film this video. I have been waiting patiently-ish to film my mid-year planner check-in. So grab a snack, grab your, I would say blanket, but at least in the northern hemisphere, it's summer, so unless you've got your AC cranked way up, don't grab your blanket. But I cannot wait to jump into all of these planners and show you what I have been using and not using so far in 2025. I think the best way to start would be to work in a somewhat order of what I've not been using to what I've been using. First on the docket, we'll start with this little guy. This is my Sterling Ink N1 monthly booklet, and I got this for my YouTube planner for 2025. If you're not familiar with the Sterling Ink booklet system, the monthlies at least are fairly simplistic. You have a calendar view, a blank spread, a kind of quarterly or monthly, I can't remember, it's a goal planning section. It looks, here we go, goal breakdown. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections, and then you have your place to write your goal: someday, 1 year, half year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. However, I am obviously not using it for such purpose. I haven't really filled out my content pillars. If you want more information on what content pillars are, Sarah over at Heart Breathings, or possibly on her Sarah Cannon channel, has a video on breaking down what content pillars are and how to find your pillars if you are a content creator. So I took some notes on the video, but I have yet to fill out my content pillars. I have ideas of what they are, but I've not really felt the need to fill this out yet. I have not done anything with my yearly tracker. And then we have spaces by quarter to set priorities for each month, and then you have another tracker here. So, like I said, least to most used. And you're like, what are you talking about? It looks pretty filled out to me. Well, that's because I back planned and I filled all of this out after, most of it out after the fact. I did pretty well in the first quarter with keeping track of my things in this planner. However, most of the things, and this will not be new if you are familiar and you've been around my channel, most of the things that are in here I have kept track of in here. This is my everyday carry planner. So most of these things are true. I didn't pull this out of thin air, but I have back planned. So I am not using this planner as much as I thought I would. Honestly, I don't feel upset by it. I have gone and backdated or back planned these things. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to use it for the rest of the year. I may just do the same thing that I did for the majority of this year and just keep updating it after the fact. I'm not sure. I don't know. You can see my struggle with this. So at the end of the year, I would like to fill out my annual stats. I have my annual stats from 2024. And so I think that will be a fun comparison. Steps to making a video, community love, and then I have some extra pages. I'm not someone who really scripts out my my videos, as I'm sure you can probably tell. I just kind of go with it and share from the heart. And hopefully that's, you know, endearing or whatever, and you all are here for that. But I don't need a ton of space. I kind of just have an idea for a video and go for it. So I don't need a whole lot of space, which is why I thought the monthly booklet would be good. And it is. Perhaps the way I see myself proceeding with this planner is honestly the same as I have been for most of the year. Not using it on a day-to-day or even week-to-week basis. I think I can just kind of come in here every month or so, back plan what I didn't keep up with for the month or two, and then set goals and just basically do some statistics tracking. In the front here on the quarterly, I have some YouTube channel stats. And so I see myself kind of keeping this to look back on in the future and almost more of a memory keeper rather than me sitting down each week and saying, okay, I can film on Wednesday and I need to edit on Thursday and I want to upload it on Sunday. I see this planner as more of a back planning tool and a memory keeper, at least for now. So I don't use this much at all, but I will keep it in my lineup for now. And like I said, probably just continue back planning it or back planning in it. Next, I have my Erin Condren and Clever Girl Finance Budget Planner. And I am going to open to a page just so you're not staring at the glare of the ring light. I purchased this to, you know, once and for all, get my finances in order and figure out my budget and stick to it and keep up with my budgeting each week. And I was doing well. I did use this regularly for the first 3 months or so, and I just stopped. It's not the fault of the planner. I actually quite like the layout and... Oh wait, this is undated. That's right. So I can pick this up again and jump back in at any time, which I do have intentions on doing. I quite like the fact that everything is kind of laid out for you. I've talked about this before, but I previously tried a budget planner where it was essentially a bullet journal, and the lack of structure did not work for me. So I do plan on jumping back into this. Not exactly sure when. I do have some ideas for how I can alter and update my budget planning. I will probably be creating a video where I go back in and maybe we can do some of this together. I'm not sure how much of my finances I want to share and, you know, what the kind of workarounds would look like for that. But I do want to do a video where I chat about my budgeting system and new setup. So keep your eyes out for more of that in the future. But it's honestly a toss-up whether my budget planner or this would be my least used. So I'll put those two aside. Next, I have my writing planner. Obviously, there's more than one here. So these, again, are the N1 Sterling Ink monthly and weekly booklets. So this is the monthly portion. I thought it would be nice to carry around a much smaller system than what my writing planner was last year. Last year, I was using the Hobonichi Weeks, which is a wonderful little planner. However, I found that I didn't need all of that space. I didn't need all of the notes pages in the back. And I felt like it was just too much for my writing planner. I didn't need the entire Hobonichi weeks. So this was a nice kind of middle of the road. And I was using a traveler's notebook for much of the year. So even though this is technically larger in size than the Hobonichi weeks, it's much slimmer. Even the two of these together are much slimmer in profile than the weeks. And I could put my writing planners, my everyday carry, and my YouTube planner into one system, which works pretty well for me actually. The only thing is I don't always carry my big traveler's notebook cover with me everywhere. My monthly booklet functions very similarly to my YouTube planner, but there are more details. So I have a blank page still because I've not figured out what to do with it. This is my quarterly and monthly planning. So I go in each month and write my goal for the month. And then I, on the yearly tracker, have made myself a color coding key to, at a quick glance, see what I am working on. Whether it's nothing, which is obviously the largest proportionate color here, whether I'm brainstorming, plotting, drafting, doing a read through, revisions, edits, publishing, or other work. So I really like this idea of having the quick at a glance view of how I'm spending my time. And I do plan on keeping this up. Similarly, this feels a little redundant, but it takes me like 2 seconds to rewrite it. So I have my quarterly priorities, the breakdown on what I need to do each month, and then I have a tracker here, which is sort of similar to this in the sense that I'm saying I did nothing, which is the X, a read through, which on this page is the pink, but there are details in here that I'm not capturing here. This is just a broad categorical, what am I doing? Here you can see on January 23rd, I have my Scrivener set up. I'm working on character arcs, and I labeled that here on the color-coded page as other. So there are more granular things. Here I am drafting, and I wrote my word counts, whereas here in April, I just have the tan color-coded for drafting. So I do feel like this is somewhat redundant, but I like this very zoomed out view and a slightly more zoomed in view. So I do have my July set up, my July goals. I am participating in Sarah over at Heart Breathings. I'm participating in her rough draft challenge this month. And then here's the rest of Q4. This planner does give you the December monthly. However, I just, the December for the previous year, so for 2024. I just glued these pages together though. I didn't use that feature. So here you can see I am doing a similar thing as to my tracker, but I am writing in more detail on the monthly pages exactly what I'm working on. So just a quick flip through here. And most of these things, I, like my YouTube planner, have gone and back planned. I am not coming in here every day, every week, not even every month. But I know I will like to look back at this and use this as a reference in the future. My YouTube planner, I think I'll like to look back on, but my writing planner, I know I want to keep for posterity's sake. So I have zero regrets about back planning in here. And if I don't keep up with this every week or month, I have no regrets about going back and back planning for the future, which sounds weird. I am back planning in here for me in future years to look at. So this, because this is more of a zoomed out view, my weekly portion is kind of the most zoomed in I'm going to get. So again, this page is blank. I had thought about using the tracker in my weekly planner, but I don't know what for. I don't want to fill out this tracker twice because that is truly redundant. After 2025 is over, I'm going to store these together. So I don't need that spread in here as well. So here, as you can see, I am making more detailed notes. I'm still keeping track of what I'm doing, like working on my Scrivener setup, working on my character arcs. And I was doing a weekly calendar here because there is this little calendar at the front, but I was enjoying putting this little weekly calendar here. I have some washi tape, so it's like, why not use it? So as you can see, not every day has things, not every week has things. And like these two planners, I'm not coming in here every day. I'm not coming in here every week. I'm not even coming in here every month. But I am keeping track of this information, mostly in my everyday carry. And I do like having this information in its own separate space. I find it very valuable. So I do not have any regrets about not filling this out consistently, about having blank space. I did nothing last week, so make a note to myself. And then it is currently July 2nd. So this is my last week in this weekly booklet. And next week, I will jump into the second half of the year, which I have waiting in the wings. So those are my writing and my YouTube booklets, and then my budget planner. You don't notice a difference, but for me, it is now the next morning. It is Thursday, July 3rd, and I am back. Good morning. Hello. So I think next in the planner lineup is probably my Erin Condren Vertical Life Planner. And this I use as my HB90 planner. So if you're not familiar, Sarah over at Heart Breathings has created a course called HB90, and it stands for Heart Breathings 90. And basically the goal is to take a look at your realistic and available time and to try and set reasonable and achievable goals with the time you have. And she recommends putting, let's cover that up. She recommends putting no more than 3 things on your plate at a time, or 3 goals or areas of your life you wish to work on, just because oftentimes any more than 3 is just, you're spreading yourself very thin, in addition to all of the other things that you do in your life, like family, work, social outings, other, obligations that you may have. So I have my Q1, Q2, and Q3 goal areas. And, well, I'm thinking of doing a planning video where I plan out my Q3 with you. so I'm not going to fill this out. However, my 3 focus areas will almost certainly remain the same all year. My 3 focus areas are writing, YouTube, and my fitness. So you can see each month or each quarter, I have kind of one goal that I focus on. And then I have the monthly calendar, which I don't use a whole lot. January, I didn't use this section at all because I wasn't sure what to do on this page. But you can see here, I have writing in one section, YouTube in another, I guess, row, and then fitness in a third row. And each week I track my time spent in task blocks, which I'm considering a half an hour chunk of time. Writing, I spent a half an hour. YouTube, I spent a half an hour. And fitness, I spent 2.5 hours. So I just kind of go through every week and write what I'm working on. And then at the end of the month, I have a reflection area where I do a bad job of scheduling task blocks. I do a good job of looking at my available time, and I do an okay job of estimating how many task blocks I could spend on these 3 areas, but I don't actually say, you know, Saturday I'm going to spend 5 task blocks on my YouTube, and Sunday I'm going to spend 2 task blocks on my writing. The only area in which I sort of do that would be my fitness, and that's because I run on Tuesday, Friday, and Sundays. So I know that those days of the week I will be spending on my running, but I don't necessarily go into my planner and pre-plan that out. It's just something that I know in my head I'm doing each week. So I have my task blocks scheduled, which maybe someday I'll get better at scheduling them. I have my task blocks used. I have what went well, what went wrong, and then next month I. And this little section here for next month I see it as where I've left off in my progress and what I want to do next month to stay on track with that goal for the quarter. It's a good kind of check-in point for gauging where I'm at with my goal and where I want to continue to push the next month. So here I did start putting my monthly goals for each section, or monthly tasks for each section on this page. If all of you have any ideas, I've been doing some thinking about what I want to use this spread for each month. But as you can see, I've just been going through each month and keeping track of my time. I also keep track of my weight. I am trying to lose weight. And some weeks are very empty like this, and that's okay. I don't mind the blank space. It gives me just as clear of a picture of what I'm doing, which, you know, is nothing for some of these days and weeks. And in June, I switched my colors. I got some new Erin Condren markers, so I switched the colors to use those, and I've been having fun. So this I do not come into every day. I don't even come in here every week. I probably am in this planner every 2 to 4 weeks. And again, I don't mind. I'm fine with that. I like my writing planner and hopefully my YouTube planner, I think this is going to be something that I want to keep for posterity so that years in the future I can see the evolution and how I have tweaked and customized the HB90 program or course to my liking and to my needs. And I'm sure it will morph over time. I plan on hanging on to this so that I can reference it in the future. And we are now in July. I have not done anything for July yet. That's because I want to plan out my Q3 with all of you and give you folks kind of a peek into how I do that. So I do have some Post-it notes. I've realized that this one size of Post-it note fits perfectly into these boxes. And so I can each week just move my Post-it notes. This is going to always be the same, so this will move very easily. However, I'm not always going to be plotting for my writing, so these may change a little more. I may have something that says drafting, or I may have something that says admin or Scrivener doc setup. So the fitness Post-its are very reusable because I just run. I could be more granular and say run 3 miles, run 3.2 miles, but I just have run there and that's good enough. But my YouTube and my writing Post-it notes do change more than these. I've been using these same ones for a while. So this is just a really easy way for me to kind of future plan without committing too much. I have a hard time planning my goals and such in the future because what if I get busy, or what if I was waiting on something to come in the mail and I can no longer film the video that I wanted to film because whatever I'm waiting on is still delayed, or what if I'm on the heaviest day of my period and I've just got wicked cramps and I'm gonna skip Friday's run. So I don't like to pre-plan tasks too much because I know they change, and I can often be really excited to wake up Friday morning and plot after work. And then by the time I log off, I'm like not interested at all. So I do kind of let myself go with my vibes and do what I want to do that day. I'm not too strict about it. Could I be stricter? Probably. Am I? Sometimes, not usually. So I find that this is a nice way for me to kind of have that pseudo structure without writing it down and committing to it too hard. But I never really understood the hype of the Erin Condren planners, and I'm not gonna lie, they're pretty nice. I actually quite like it. And I feel like this works really well for HB90 because we have these 3 rows of boxes, and it just works so well for my writing, my YouTube, and my fitness. So I think I found a really good system and I quite like it. So I will definitely keep using this. And I got the cute little peacock folio for it. So of course it's all filthy already because nothing in my house with 7 animals stays clean for more than like 3 minutes after you bring it into the house. Next, this is the only new addition. All of the other planners are ones that I bought at the beginning of the year and I have been using throughout the year. I found myself wanting to take better notes of my running and my aches and pains as I run. And so I originally was going to do it in my HB90 planner, and then I decided not to because I didn't want to kind of clutter it up with all of those notes when that's not really what that planner was meant for. And then I was thinking about putting it in my everyday carry because I have all of these notes back here, but I didn't want to use these pages just for running. I wanted to be able to have these pages accessible for other things throughout the year. And it was taking up too much space in my kind of weekly sections. So I decided to get a totally new planner just for my running and fitness. I used to have a running journal and I really liked it. I did a great job of keeping up on it. This was about 12-ish, 13 years ago, and I really liked it. And so I decided to do that again and kind of have it largely the same, but kind of tweak it a little bit. So this was one of the Happy Planner spring releases. It's dated July 2025 through June 2026. However, I wanted something that was January 2025 through December 2025. These discs are not from this planner. These discs are from the Shell Yeah spring release planner. I am not using the Shell Yeah planner. So if you have a desire for the Shell Yeah innards and cover, please let me know. We can work out something so I can get it to you. And I don't know what Happy Planner resales go for. I don't really care. Just, I'd sell it for $10 in shipping. I have no plans to use the covers, the dashboards, the innards. So I literally only wanted these purple sparkly discs. So that's that. So on the front page here, I did purchase some Happy Planner refill paper to have extra pages. I didn't realize that Happy Planners do not come with notes pages. This is my first Happy Planner purchase, and so I've never really explored around much. So I did buy some extra pages to have more pages to take notes on. My first page here, I have some notes on my shoes. That way I can keep track of my... Hi, Astrid. Bye, Astrid. That way I can keep track of when I need to replace my shoes. And then I took some notes on the model and the price and the sizing and the date I purchased them. So I have some 2025 goals here. Feel free to pause if you'd like, but I've already gone over these things in more detail in my running planner setup, which I will try to remember to link up here for you. I made my own custom Couch to 5K training plan based on my running days, based on what I feel is realistic for me. Have not followed this at all. I have just been kind of slowly and steadily increasing my distance for what feels good. And I am just on my birthday on Tuesday, I broke 3 miles. So I am so close to the 5K. So I have, I participate in Map My Run, which is an app, and they have fun challenges. There's no way I'm going to get to 1,025 kilometers this year, but, we'll just get as far as we can get. And then I have some empty notes pages here for some ideas that I may or may not throw into my planner. So this would have been January 2026. However, like I said, I wanted it to be January 2025 through December 2025. So I have redated this entire planner, and it's a mix of Happy Planners, Essential Dates, this book, Essential Dates and Numbers, and then I purchased some Days of the Week abbreviations and Days of the Week stickers from Orange Umbrella Co. So I'll just kind of quickly flip through here, and you can see kind of how this was rough. Don't look at that. you can kind of see how my running has evolved, or how I keep track of it has evolved. And because I started this planner in April, I want to say, is when I got it and set it up, I don't have a whole lot at the end of each month. See, there's just not much. And I stopped running in April, so I've got some empty weeks. And then I didn't run until the middle of May. So I took about a month, 4 or 5 weeks off of running, and then I got back into it. And here I started keeping track of my miles ran, the number of days, calories burned, a high and low point, and similarly to my HB90 planner, I have a next month where I want to look ahead to what I can do in the next month. And here I'm just keeping track of my distance. Yay, I hit 3 miles. And I did go ahead and fill this out because I thought, oh, we're in July now. I can go ahead and fill out the June recap, forgetting that because of the way I dated this planner, this last day of June, technically, with all of these July days, technically still falls under June. So I'm just going to adjust these things at the end of this week. But I said I almost hit 3 miles, and I just whited that out and said I hit 3 miles. So because I was thinking that this would be in July, but I really love having somewhere to keep dedicated to my running. I really like it. If I'm having any pain symptoms, I can make notes of that and bring it to when I finally schedule an appointment this month. I will do it this month. But I need to schedule appointments with a sports medicine doctor and a physical therapist. And I can bring this to them and say, here's what I'm doing. Here's the pain I'm having, when I'm having it, where I'm having it. And I think this will be a great resource to bring to my doctor and care team, and also a really great thing for me to be able to look at in the future and keep notes and keep track of the progress that I've made. So this is the only new addition to my lineup this year, but this is one of my favorite ones to come in and fill out. And it's quick, it's easy. It may morph over time, but I am keeping track of if I bring the boys with me. I have 2 German Shepherd. Well, I have 3 German Shepherds, but 2 of them I bring with me running. So I just make a note if I brought the boys or not, because I'd like to keep track of their distance as well, just to make sure I'm not running them too much, because I don't want them to hurt themselves either. Whether I stopped to rest, where I went running. There's a neighborhood. It's one of those, suburban developments where all the houses look essentially the same, and, HOAs and all of your plants have to match or whatever. So I call it suburban hell. But it is really nice to run there, especially in the winter when it gets dark at 4 p.m. here. It's safe sidewalks. There are street lights that I can use. So, and it's like a minute from my house. So it is really nice to be able to run there. I would not want to live there, but I do enjoy running there. I am also keeping note of what shoes I'm wearing so I can keep track of the mileage I'm putting on those shoes, what time of day, the weather, my rate of perceived energy, which is a scale of 0 to 10. A 0 is you're sitting on the couch with a bag of chips in hand, and 10 is you're running for your life. So After you run, you reflect back on how you feel, how much you feel you exerted yourself. Usually my RPE is like 6 or 7, but I also include any notes. Like here, I said I felt sluggish and slow, but I'm proud I pushed through to 3 miles. So this felt a lot more laborious than maybe it typically would. And it makes sense because here we are on Thursday and I am about to start my period. So it makes sense why Tuesday was rough. I also keep track of my pre and post workouts, not necessarily what I did as my pre-run warm-up or my post-run stretch. I have a video that I do before and a video that I do after my runs, and I just stick to those 2 videos. And then I keep track, lastly, I forgot to put it in its box here. Lastly, I keep track of my pace, my duration, calories, and elevation. So I love this planner. And as you can see, at the beginning of the month, I set a few goals, and then I will do my reflection at the end of the month. But I am really, really enjoying this planner. Someone asked me recently, I was out in public with this, and someone was like, oh my God, I used to love happy planners, blah, blah, blah. How do you like it? And I was like, well, I love it for this specific purpose. I don't think I would want this to be my everyday carry planner, but I love it for what it's doing for me. And for the very most part, this stays at home. I only brought it with me to catch up and back plan a few of my runs and record the information. So I don't like putting this in my purse so much. It feels kind of bulky. It's kind of awkward. But for staying at home on my desk, it's great. I love it. And last, but certainly not least, my most used planner. This is my Sterling Ink N1 horizontal compact full year common planner. Every time I say it, it's such a mouthful. And this does go with me everywhere. This almost is always in my purse. I always take it with me just because if I need to make an appointment, jot something down, I want this with me. So I have some stickers on the front here. Nothing here except one sticker. And then I have some goal breakdowns here, which I'm trying to follow, but you know, things morph and shift throughout the year. I was thinking of doing a period or health symptom tracker. Have not done that. I was keeping track of it further back in the planner. Wow, flipped right to it. But not up here. I forgot that I had intended this to be my period tracker and just made a spread back here for it and totally forgot. So it's empty. And then on my quarterly page, I had priorities for the quarter, and then I broke those down by month. And some of these line up with my HB90. So my YouTube, my writing, and my fitness, I can kind of transfer easily between my HB90 Erin Condren planner and this. So I kind of have those things in 2 spaces to really help me focus. And then on this page was my habit tracker. I have water intake, moving my body, no alcohol, brushing my teeth, and that sounds maybe silly to some, but this isn't just me brushing my teeth, because I've talked about this on my channel before too, but I'm the kind of person that is pulling my pants on while I'm brushing my teeth, or pouring a cup of coffee, or letting the dogs out. And I am trying to get better at just standing still in front of the mirror and brushing my teeth and really focusing and making sure I am like getting back in all the nooks and crannies as I'm brushing, because sometimes I'll walk out the door And it's like, oh, I can definitely feel that I brushed better here than there. So I'm really trying to focus on brushing my teeth intentionally and getting those problem spots. If I did my skincare, if I did any writing, and when we did the litters. And this is mostly like a full refresh of the litter, not just scooping. Although some of them I have counted as like just scooping, but I did really well keeping up with this in quarter one. And this happens every year. I tend to drop off around this time of year. And I haven't done this partially because I want to set up Q3 with all of you. So I do have the intention to get back on my habit tracking, but I typically drop off during the spring and summer because I get busy and I just don't care to look at this page. You can see May and June, I didn't even write out my goals. So I've kind of abandoned these pages, but I do have hopes of getting back into it this month or this quarter, which is also this month. I realized I wanted to wait till that dried. The ink, at least, before I highlighted over it. So I didn't use this for December 2024. I waited until January 1st. But you can see I have not a super full calendar. I'm not someone who uses the monthly all that often. But I do like to put more high-level things in here. Ugh, June is so busy. Let's see. Oh, I also need to add that's for Saturday, not Sunday. Okay. So I do use my monthlies, but I don't use them a ton. But I do have it paper clipped with my quarterly page so that I can easily flip back and forth instead of thumbing through all of these pages looking for what I need. So after the quarterly or monthly, we have the weekly section. I was doing some time tracking on the weekly pages, but I figured it was redundant because I have those pages here. So I'm not going to flip through every page because we'll just be sitting here for too long. But I feel like you kind of get the idea. I played around with some washi tape to separate some sections, and I kind of liked that. I did it earlier, yeah. I liked it, but I'm not someone who goes into my planner every Sunday or Monday and plans out my week. I just kind of write things in as they come up. See, some weeks are busier and more chaotic than others. But I liked the washi tape. I just don't consistently do it, and that's fine. This week I tried something different, and I did a video on it. If you would like to watch, I'll try to remember to link it up in the cards or in the, you know what I mean, in the corner there. So I did really like decorating. This was something different for me, and I think it turned out really cute. It's probably my favorite weekly spread, but that's easy to say when you're like comparing it to this, you know. But I think this turned out really cute. I was using some washi and then my Happy Planner stickers. And then that brings us to this week. So I will absolutely keep using this. I love Sterling ink planners. This is my second year using it. So after the weeklies, I have a seasonal task list, which I started strong at the beginning of the year, keeping track of it, and just stopped. Same thing with my vet appointment tracker. We've been to the vet many more times since March 13th. but I just have not been keeping track of it. Same thing with my menstrual tracker, have not been keeping track of it very well. Here's the one for the back half of the year. I separated it. And then my original place where I was keeping track of my couch to 5K in my running. And then I very quickly realized that, oh, this is not enough space. Hence why I have my whole running planner now. And then I have a wish list for me, some gift ideas, books read in 2025. Haven't done anything with that. Random notes, more random notes, more random notes, and then pen swatches of my new dual brush pens. So I like to have the notes section. I always think that I'm going to keep up with spreads, and I do in the beginning of the year, and then clearly everything just kind of drops off around the same time, but that's okay. They're here if I want to jump back into them. I don't mind that there's blank space. You know, I can always just jump back in July if I want. I already have it set up. Same thing with my vet appointment tracker. I can just say like gap from March to July and then start again a couple lines down. But this, if I had to have one planner, it would be this one, because I more or less keep track of my task blocks. Let's see. Well, it's hard to, my handwriting's not great, so I'm sorry. But, see if I can find where, yeah. So here I went to the pub to plot. I used 2 task blocks. And then I can go into my HB90 and my writing planners and transfer that information in. So that's how I back plan in these planners, is by taking information from my everyday carry. So I'm mostly using the same planners since the beginning of the year. Not using all of them equally in terms of time spent, but I am proud of myself that I am not just, I'm not really a planner hopper anyway. I am more guilty of adding planners to my lineup instead of abandoning. But this is the only one I've added this year. I would say, like I said, this is my ride or die. And then I would say next favorite would either be my running planner or my HB90 planner. These 3 are probably the most important because I could transfer any of the information from these into these if I had to. So I do really love my writing planners though. I want these to go in this ride or die pile. These 2, I like them, they're fine. I'm just not using them as much as I would like to. But let me know what you're using this year. Let me know if your lineup has stayed mostly the same or if you've done like a total overhaul. Let me know if you're using any of the same planners as me, what you're using them for, and how you love or don't love them. Let me know your favorite thing and let me know your least favorite thing about your planners and whatever setups you are using this year. But I hope you have a safe and happy holiday weekend. And remember to keep your pets indoors. Do not let them out off leash unsupervised this weekend. People are going to be setting off fireworks, and the last thing we need is more pets lost and running around. So until I see you again, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.